Happy Gobble Gobble Eve. What's going on, guys? It is not Saturday. It is a Wednesday. And you know what that means? We're not watching Dynamite. We're not even reviewing Dynamite. We are here before Dynamite starts for kind of a catch-up podcast, like a cleanup pod is how I would describe this thing, because I have a lot of notes and there's a lot of things that I have not talked to you guys about yet, including Full Gear. We have to predict Survivor Series. Monday's Go Home Raw was pretty good. We got a lot of interesting wrestling news. We've got new belts being created, tournament brackets to talk about. There's a lot on tap for today's episode, so I'm hoping that 2 hours will be enough to get it all done here before Dynamite goes live tonight. And I'm glad y'all are here. Thank you again. I tried to give you guys as much notice as I could on this. I posted this link a couple of days ago because it's Thanksgiving tomorrow here in the States. And then on Saturday, we have the pay-per-view, and there's really not going to be a time to come up here and do a podcast to talk about stuff. So that's why I decided to do it today ahead of Dynamite. Hopefully, we get everything done before Dynamite goes live in less than 2 hours. But we're going to be talking about some AEW drama, like what's going on with Ricky Starks and GCW. Effie is a part of this as well. We're going to talk about Saturday night's main event coming up. We're going to talk about the Women's Intercontinental Championship. We're going to kind of recap Full Gear. I have not given you guys my thoughts on Full Gear, but I do have some opinions on the show and what we saw over the weekend from AEW. Also, we're going to talk about that Continental Classic tournament bracket in the field and what that's looking like. We're going to talk about the impending implosion of the New Day after what we saw on Monday, that great segment between Kofi and Xavier Woods, setting up a big segment this Monday. And we will probably be here to watch that together, actually. Let's go ahead and mark that on the calendar. Watch along Raw this Monday. Be here. We're also going to talk about the final setup for War Games, the Priest and Gunther stuff. Plus, we have a couple of championship matches added to Survivor Series, because last week I was wondering what else is going to be added to the show. Right now, or as of a few days ago, there was only 3 matches still announced for the show. Finally, they have tacked on an Intercontinental and United States Championship match to round out the card at a good 5 solid matches. So we're going to break it all down and predict War Games here at the very end. And I want to hear from you guys who you think is going to walk out of Survivor Series this year victorious, especially with the men's and women's babyface team. There are some potentially clashing personalities there, and if that will wind up playing a role. But I feel like it will be one heel, one face team winning. So think about that over the next hour or so as we're going through the podcast here, and see if you agree with my predictions when we get to the end. But that's kind of a general idea, what's on tap, what's on the menu here, plus anything you guys might want to discuss today. Feel free to bring it up in the chat, and we will talk about it. So right on. Welcome, everybody. Thanks again for being here. Wednesday, not sure what kind of an audience we're going to have, so I need the thumbs up. I need the engagement. If you're watching this video on demand and not live, drop a comment in the comments below, and please let me know anything you have to say here in the chat. Let's do some quick shout outs, and then we will get rolling into what we need to talk about, because I don't want to waste too much time today with Dynamite starting in less than 2 hours. I don't want this podcast to overlap with Dynamite, so we will try to bust it out as quickly as we can. I want to say hello to Rodrigo and Garrett Osborne. Kevin Plays, Daniel Berry Sports, Dan Price is in the house, Ricky Zalvadar, we got Mike Rouse, Danny, all the way across the pond. Thanks for being here, my friend. We have Denny Downbad is here as well. William, Michael Cuomo, and Victor Colon. Isaac, 27-month kayfabe brother. What's up, dude? Wishing you luck as your Lions will take on my Bears tomorrow. We're going to beat the shit out of y'all. My Super Bowl prediction is Kansas City Chiefs versus Detroit Lions. Lions and Bears tomorrow, that would be a big game. I really would like the Lions to whoop up on the Bears, and the Lions have been playing on Thanksgiving Day ever since I was a child. It has been very cool that my home team plays every year on Thanksgiving. I am also hoping for a Detroit and Kansas City final or Super Bowl, because that will be a Houston we have a problem moment in my family. Most of us are all from Michigan, but my sister, who was also born in Michigan, she married somebody from Kansas City, big Chiefs fan, his whole family. She is now a big Chiefs fan, and she is probably more a Chiefs fan than a Lions fan. So it will be a family feud in the Morgan house if it turns out to be Chiefs and Lions, and I hope that it does because it will be really fun to have a big Super Bowl party with half the people rooting for the Chiefs, half the people rooting for the Lions. That's what I'm hoping for. But first step is we have to destroy the Chicago Bears, which is not a given because I don't care if the Lions are 10-1, they're still the Lions. And I'm assuming they're at home because they usually do play on Thanksgiving in Detroit, so I'm assuming that's an away game for Chicago. So y'all probably will lose, but it ain't no guarantee. Lions can easily choke away a game, even when they're 10-1. We got Tony in the house as well. Good to see you. Ian Dunn is here. Ryan Adams chiming in with $5. Thank you for that, man. Happy Thanksgiving to you, Greg. Randy's reaction in the Punk's behind-the-scenes video of his return was fantastic. Yeah, I remember seeing that from last year, whatever they released it. I vaguely remember. But yeah, we just passed the 1-year mark of CM Punk returning to the WWE. I think that was 2 days ago on the 25th. When he showed up last year at Survivor Series, and we watched that together, and I posted my reaction to it. It was wild. And that reminds me, join us this coming Saturday. Link is already up on the channel. Survivor Series War Games watch along. It's going to be me and y'all hanging out watching this one on Saturday. And unfortunately, I have some bad news for you. This coming Sunday, I was thinking we would be back to do a classic watch along, but we're not. I forgot. I've got a family dinner this weekend because I'm going to be missing Thanksgiving with my family on Thursday. So we're doing a big dinner on Sunday that I forgot about. So there will be no classic watch along this coming Sunday, but we will be here Monday to watch Raw together because I want to see what's going to happen with the New Day and Big E. Wouldn't it be great if Big E announces that he's cleared to return to the ring, and that's what brings the New Day back together? We'll talk about all of that later, but we're going to watch that on Monday together. So we will be here Saturday for Survivor Series, live reaction watch along, skipping Sunday, and then we'll be back again on Monday for Raw. So just keep that in mind, and I will post a link for Monday's watch along here in just the next day or two. But Saturday's link for War Games is already up on the channel. Save that for Saturday and be here. It's going to be a blast. And yes, of course, to all of you here in the States, happy Thanksgiving. I hope you have a great one tomorrow. I hope you've gotten all your shopping done, because if you try to enter a grocery store today, it's going to be Armageddon. So try to stay away from that if you can, and have a great day tomorrow, great holiday with your family. Stuff yourself, loosen your pants, watch some football, burp, fart, all that stuff that Americans do. Have a great one tomorrow. I wish all of you the best. All right, so that should do it for the pleasantries, the shout outs, the what's going to happen this week, that type of stuff, and the happy gobble gobble day to all of you, and go Lions. All that good stuff is out of the way. Now we can get into our wrestle news. And I think we're going to start off with the story that was kind of making headlines yesterday involving Ricky Starks and AEW. Now, a couple of days ago, we saw, or over the weekend, I believe, Ricky Starks made an appearance for Game Changer Wrestling in the mall. Now, I don't know, were they in the Mall of America? They weren't in the Nitro Mall, were they? They might have been. But anyways, a show in a mall. Ricky Starks comes down the escalator, makes his entrance, cuts a promo, and talks a little bit about being like frozen out within AEW in the promo and whatnot. And then, I don't know if it was the same day or what, but Effie has a podcast, Effie Weekends with Effie or something like that, where he was talking about the timing of AEW's Hammerstein Ballroom show, and kind of proceeded to throw a little bit of shade at Tony Khan and Shad Khan and the company because of their perceived, budget, and they're, working with a $40 million deficit every year, and just a lot of sounds like sour grapes, even though he said that it's not sour grapes. He doesn't want to make it personal. It doesn't make him mad. He made some comments that obviously did not sit well with Tony Khan or AEW or maybe even Shad Khan. And as a result of this, Ricky Starks has been pulled from future GCW events by AEW. So it sounds like it's a combination of things. And one of the things I wondered about too, when I saw the footage of Ricky Starks appearing in the ring and he cut that promo, I said, I don't know how it works in AEW, but we're under the understanding that talent there is usually generally allowed to work indie dates. They might have to get them approved or whatnot, but working indie dates is something that Tony Khan allows their wrestlers to do. So when I saw Ricky Starks and he's working this show, and then he's kind of talking smack about his employer, I'm like, isn't your employer? Now, granted, I think it's fucked up that they rolled over his option. We'll talk about that in a minute. But is it smart to trash talk your employer who is essentially allowing you to work this? Like, they're paying Ricky Starks, and then he's picking up a payment or a booking fee from GCW. So he's kind of double dipping. So at least financially, professionally, Ricky Starks might be very frustrated. Financially, he's probably doing fine if he can pick up these indie dates. So after what he said, I guess, on his appearance there in the ring, then he did a podcast with Chris Van Vliet. Then you combine what Effie said. All of that, I think, together is what made AEW decide to not allow Ricky Starks to work any future dates with GCW. Here's what Fightful Select had to say about this yesterday. This past weekend, Ricky Starks made an appearance at GCW where he spoke about being frozen out with an AEW. On November 26th, Fightful reported that AEW had picked up his option last spring and his deal goes into 2025. The same day, he had an interview with Chris Van Vliet that spoke about his absence from AEW TV. And if you haven't seen that interview, check it out. Chris does great work. It's a really good sit down with Ricky Starks, and he does shed a little bit of light on some of that situation and his frustrations in AEW. Fightful Select's article or report goes on to say, GCW sources claim to Sean Ross Sapp that Ricky Starks has been pulled from all planned upcoming appearances with the company by AEW. We're told the decision was made on November 26th, that was yesterday, and relayed to Starks. We're also told that AEW had taken exception to GCW talent Effie bringing up Shad Khan on a recent podcast in regards to AEW running the Hammerstein Ballroom, and Shad effectively paying Tony Khan to stay away. After that, AEW was not interested in having Ricky Starks work for GCW. We're told that Ricky Starks is available to work indies outside of GCW, but AEW was not interested in effectively paying Starks to wrestle for GCW. And that's what I was kind of wondering about when he made that appearance. And I'm like, for somebody that seems to be on the out with his employer, they're allowing him to pick up a double payday here. He's getting paid by AEW, even though he's not being used, he's being paid by them something, and then also being allowed to pick up dates. And that was what kind of confused me about the Danhausen stuff, because they were saying that Danhausen, there's a lot of this is hearsay, but one of the issues was that he would prefer to work indies over Collision. And I'm like, okay, I don't know if you're working for AEW and you're under contract to them. I would assume, never assume, but I would assume that if you're under contract to AEW, by default, they become your top priority. You have to be for them first. You have to be there for them first. And then on your off days or when they don't need you, you're welcome to pick up any other bookings. That's the way I would assume it would be structured. So the fact that Danhausen can say, no, I really don't want to work Collision, I'd rather work indies. Well, then what the fuck do you want him there for? So, with Ricky Starks, it's a little bit different. But if you're unhappy with your employer, they kind of got you by the balls in some respect if they have to approve any dates that you work. So now that there's some controversy here with GCW, they don't want him working for them when he would probably pick up a pretty sweet payday. And so now all of this has crumbled. So it's, at the end of the day, not a huge deal. Ricky Starks is going to be fine. He's not going to work for GCW, I guess until his AEW contract runs up, at which time I'm sure he will head to WWE. But one of the things, too, I thought was interesting on Chris Van Vliet's podcast is he mentioned being at WrestleMania 40 up in the box with with Dustin and QT Marshall. And he says there's no heat on him for that. And Tony Khan gave him the green light to go. So it feels like a lot of his issues with AEW doesn't really have to do with WWE. It just has to do with, him sitting at home and not really being used. And I don't know why they decided to roll over that option. Again, we don't know the whole story, so if you're just judging this on the surface, I don't like to hear when a promoter or a wrestling owner holds you hostage with a contract. WWE did that shit all the time. And it was infuriating to sit here. Imagine how it is for them, especially if you're mid-30s or, when you have a window that grows ever shorter or closes shorter more. Every year you keep competing. And so you've got like a finite time where you can really make your bag in pro wrestling. And I found that frustrating as a fan, watching wrestlers just burn years off of their career doing dick. And that's when I think, take offense to time being added to contracts. I'm like, if they don't want to be here, especially in WWE is such a strong company that I've always felt that no matter who they lost, I mean, even if it was a Cena, but I mean, aside from the top names, there's nobody in WWE that would leave the company and would break them. And so I always found it frustrating when they would not let people go who don't want to be there, who were asked for the release, and then they deny the release. Why would you deny them the release? Just let them go. Your company's going to be fine. WWE's going to be just as strong tomorrow with them not under contract than they are today. And some of it felt unnecessary, maybe even spiteful at times. And there maybe have been in the past some legitimate reasons to keep some around. No, sorry, we've invested too much. We can't let you go. I'm always willing to understand all of that. But when it comes to your Miros, your Ricky Starks, your Luke Harpers, your Revivals, in both companies, people who clearly want to leave and the company is just kind of not letting them go, it's frustrating from a fan's perspective because we want to see them featured on TV in a ring somewhere, but it's got to be even more frustrating for the talent who can't do anything. So I'm not going to jump all down Tony Khan's throat for picking up that option on Ricky Starks, but why did you if you didn't use him? If Tony Khan is doing this all for spite or something, I don't know, but we don't know the whole story. Maybe, in WWE too, there have been some instances where they have not let talent go. And I was the one that actually was saying, maybe there's more reasons that we don't know because we're just fans reading shit on the internet. We're not back there. So there's two sides to every story. And let's say you're a promoter or you're a wrestling owner and you've got one piece of talent that is being extremely difficult. They're annoying the shit out of you. They're constantly bitching, constantly complaining, going on and voicing their frustrations any chance they get on any podcast, behaving unprofessionally, pissing you off, and just being an overall thorn in your side. Are you going to want to do anything to make their life better or easier? Maybe there's some personal animosity with some of these situations. No, fuck that guy. I'm going to keep him under contract for another year for him doing that. We don't know. I feel like something like that is a little bit petty, regardless who's doing it, whether it's Tony Khan or Triple H or Vince McMahon or whoever. I think you've got bigger fish to fry. Your company, your company as a whole is much more important than one individual wrestler. So I believe in WWE, AEW, WCW, TNA, ECW, any of those companies in the past, if you have somebody there who does not want to be there, I have always believed that you should let them go. So why Khan added time to Ricky Starks' deal when it feels like he's just going to go as soon as he has the first fucking opportunity on day 2 of his free agency, he should be signed. So just let him go. He's going to go to WWE anyway. Like, I don't understand, I think it bothers me sometimes because of, like I said earlier, talents being of a certain age. Ricky Starks is, mid-30s. He's still very young, still, lots of career ahead of him, but not really the time in your life where you just want to be spinning your wheels, treading water, doing nothing, sitting in a home for a year when you're in the prime of your life. So it's frustrating, and it can be, contracts can do that. When you're under contract and then you decide, I don't know if I want to be here. Well, you're under contract. So now you're fucked. And that's the situation with Ricky Starks. It was he's the one that signed the contract that had that option, to be picked up. He signed it too, so it's like, I don't know. I do feel like it's unfortunate because I do like Ricky Starks, and the sooner he gets to WWE, the better. And maybe that's Tony Khan's motivation as well. WWE definitely does things and operates, in a way to where they try to suppress the growth of AEW a lot. And we've seen various examples of that and contract tampering stuff, and Tony Khan's kind of gotten pissed off a time or two here or there. I think even WWE's ID program, is designed to give them first crack at everybody. And if they are doing things that Tony Khan perceives as, kind of sketchy, why is he going to be the nice guy and just release talent? So it's just an unfortunate situation all around, but it does sound like Ricky Starks' deal is only through the beginning part of 2025. So he'll be done pretty soon. Incidentally, Penta, his contract is coming up in just a couple of days, I think. I didn't write down this exact report. I meant to, I forgot. But it sounds like Penta's deal is finally coming up, and now it just depends on how much time Rey Fenix has left before the Lucha Bros turn up in WWE. But for sure, Ricky Starks sounds like he's going to be there. I can't imagine, unless he really wants to work GCW and him and Tony Khan have a meeting and they work something out. But I feel like Ricky Starks is going to go to WWE. WWE is where Ricky Starks wants to go. And if he wants to go there, just let him. But sounds like we're not going to have to wait much longer either way, because by next year, he will be there. So all the best to Ricky Starks, all the best to GCW, all the best to AEW, figuring out all their shit and all their unhappy wrestlers. Kind of an unfortunate situation all around. Here's what Brett Lauderdale had to say about this whole thing on Game Changer Weekly. And I quote, "It's a weird situation because Ricky is an independent contractor. This is a whole wrestling conversation that one of these days is going to be tested and something is going to happen, because theoretically an independent contractor is independent and they can go and work wherever they want. In wrestling, these independent contractors don't seem to be very independent. They are at the whim of an employer, which makes it seem like they are an employee." And he's right and he's wrong there, but we'll talk about that later. "It's above our pay grade. I'm just an indie wrestling company and I don't have people under contract. These guys reach out to me. I like working with talented people and I don't really get into their contract situation. If they make it to the point where they can appear on my show, I am to assume that everything is cleared. People don't traditionally breach contracts on this level of wrestling." So, Ricky, I don't think showed up there without approval. I just think after that, they were just like, no, we don't want you to do anymore. And based on what Effie said, based on what Ricky Starks said in the promo, and with Chris Van Vliet, you can see AEW's side of this. I believe if a talent wants to go, you should let him go. But in this particular situation, I guess I can understand the frustrations on both sides, but I'm generally, every single time, regardless of what company and what talent is having an issue, I'm going to most of the time take the talent side over the companies, over a billionaire side. Unless the talent is a real rancid piece of shit, most of the time I'm probably going to side with the talent. Even with Sasha and Naomi, I was like, I understood. I understood why they walked out. I'd fucking walk out too. So, whatever. But all the best to Ricky Starks. I hope this situation gets resolved sooner rather than later. We've got the Hardy Boys sticking around in TNA. So we got Ricky Starks' contract coming up. Penta's contract is coming up. Hardys are sticking around in TNA. TNA announced via press release today that the Hardy Boys have re-signed with the company. No details on length or money, but they are the current TNA Tag Team Champions. And that's a good place for them to be because of the working agreement with WWE. This gets the Hardys kind of back in WWE without getting them there. You know what I mean? If the Hardys want to come in and do an appearance or something like that, do a run-in Royal Rumble, I feel like is a major possibility for the Hardys. I would love if Jeff or Matt or both were in the Royal Rumble. But being in TNA and being under contract to them is probably for the best. And that way they can kind of still be within arm's reach of WWE. And then in the next year or two, it's time to Hall of Fame these guys. Because I have no interest in seeing the Hardys in another WWE run. An appearance, a fun match, a farewell match, maybe a quick little retirement run of 3 months or something like that. I'm okay with that. But I do not need or want any significant Hardy Boys run in the WWE. They are way past their prime, especially Matt and Jeff too. It's just no. But I'm happy that they are still champions, signed with TNA, and I'm hoping because of the signing that will allow them a couple of WWE appearances here or there and free them up to be available for a Hall of Fame when and if that ever happens. So best of luck to my North Kakalaki running mates, the Hardy Boys. Here's some fun news. Cody Rhodes versus Kevin Owens is official for Saturday night's main event. Now, this is what we heard. We've heard this for weeks, but we've also been wondering if we could see them wrestle at Survivor Series, because up until a couple of days ago, there was only 3 matches added to or announced for this card. So Gunther's defending his title. I thought maybe Cody and Owens could work and then have the return match at Survivor Series, but it's just going to be the match. Now, I've already pitched this idea 6 times, so I'm not going to spend 20 minutes running down how I think this should go. But for those of you who've been watching this podcast over the past couple of months, I have been pitching ever since we heard this rumored match that I would do a title change. Good mic work, you're crazy. WWE loves Cody. They're not going to take the belt off of him. Shut up. Just shut up. It can happen. It absolutely can happen. And I think Kevin Owens, after that promo we saw from the two of them on Friday, this is such a hot angle now. are you just going to have another match where Cody wins? What's the point of doing this then? What's the point of turning Owens heel if you're just going to do what you did at Bash at Berlin? You know what I mean? And now that Owens is a heel, now that Owens has real, true, actual motivation to be pissed off and to target Cody, target the championship, he wants it. He hasn't been world champion in 8 years. This is going to be NBC, Saturday night's main event. The championship has changed on NBC before in the most watched wrestling match of all time. 33 million people in February of 88 tuned in to watch Andre the Giant steal the belt from Hulk Hogan in the heist of the century with the twin referees and all that. Why can't Owens do something like that? Imagine him stealing the title, Cody sitting there in disbelief in the ring, fans, with the Undertaker just lost his streak look on their faces. Oh my God, that would be money. And Cody could win it. I don't give a shit. Cody could win it back. Who knows? Maybe Cody goes into WrestleMania and he's not champion. Because if Cody goes into WrestleMania as champion, wouldn't you think that he's going to drop it? If he holds the title for the whole year and goes into WrestleMania as champion, wouldn't you feel like he's going to drop the title? If he retains at WrestleMania, then you're going to start hearing more comparisons with him and Roman Reigns. Or I'm sorry, him and Cena and him and Roman Reigns when Cena and Roman were so hated. I think it would be better if you want to give Cody Rhodes a win at WrestleMania. It might be better if he wasn't champion. It might be better if he drops the belt and then faces The Rock at WrestleMania. Or if The Rock or Randy Orton cost him the match against Cody Rhodes, he faces one of them at WrestleMania. I don't know. Or he's in the Rumble and gets tossed out last. I don't know. But I would not rule out at all Cody Rhodes dropping the title because it's a national television audience. Granted, it's not going to be the 33 million that you had in 1988 because TV is different now, but you're going to have a lot more eyeballs on that. And if you have a very dramatic finish in this heist and oh my God, it would be so great. So I'm still holding out hope that Kevin Owens beats Cody Rhodes on Saturday night's main event and wins the championship. And all these years we've been talking about how criminal it is that Owens has not been champion in 8 years. What a great way to make it up to him. They're not just giving him any old championship victory. He's not winning the brand new World Heavyweight Championship on a Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. No, he's winning the World Championship on fucking NBC. And he's doing something that hasn't been done since Andre the Giant 36 years ago. That would be incredible. So I am still adamant that Kevin Owens should beat Cody Rhodes on Saturday night's main event. And I'm not going to shut the fuck up about that until we get to Saturday night's main event. So prepare to listen to that a lot. We're going to talk about Monday's Raw, but one thing I want to mention before that is that on Monday's Raw, they announced what we figured might happen after they announced the Women's United States Championship on SmackDown, and the tournament is only SmackDown competitors. That was your dead giveaway. Dead giveaway. When a white girl run into a black man's arms, dead giveaway. Remember that little girl who got rescued? Oh my God. Dead giveaway. So when they put all of the SmackDown competitors in the tournament, dead giveaway that we're going to get an Intercontinental Championship on Raw. Adam Pearce on Monday did in fact announce this, unveiled exactly what we thought. A little miniature version of the current IC title with a white strap and the blue and all that. Very nice looking belt, but it's still not that one. They need to bring back that one. So I think that's too much. I do. I think that 6 championship belts, IC, 2 worlds, IC, US, and 2 tags. That's 6 championship belts on the main roster for the women. Now, earlier today, I tried to get a general idea of how many active women's wrestlers there are on the main roster. And there was a list of a bunch of them, but they had like injured people. They had NXT people. They had Jackie Redmond on there and shit like that. So when I tried to count all of the women on SmackDown and Raw that are currently like in the ring, I even counted Charlotte and Asuka, who aren't even on TV right now. I came to roughly 35 wrestlers. 35 women, give or take 1 or 2, is about the amount of women we see spread across Raw and SmackDown. So if you do the math there, you got 6 championship belts and 35 wrestlers. That's around 18 to 20%, 17 to 20% of your roster is going to be champions. That's 1 in 6, 1 in 5.5 is going to be a champion. That's too much, isn't it? Isn't this the same problem we had with AEW? I mean, creating belts, and there's a million fucking belts. WWE created 2 new championships over the course of 3 weeks. And it's for a a division that I just don't think is beefy enough to support that. The women have the same amount of belts as the men. How many men are on the roster? I didn't do that count, but I feel like it would be double the amount of women. So there's a lot more men on the roster than there are women, even though women and women wrestling is being represented a lot better now than it ever has in the past. And you have multiple women's matches per pay-per-view and stuff, but still it's a men-dominated sport. So I think that's a little bit too many belts for a division that size. That's all I'm saying. And if I was to do this, I would unify your world titles, because now you've got 4 singles belts to be passed around among 35 women. Fuck. That's just way too much. It's way too much. I feel like it devalues championships when everybody on the roster is going to be a champion. Everybody is going to get a chance. I mean, I'm telling you, if you're a woman on the WWE roster right now and you don't win a championship, quit the business, because you got titles everywhere. You can't win a title in WWE on the women's roster. You suck, because there's 6 championships to go around. So I just personally think that's too many. What I would do with this division, if they insist on an IC and a US so they can have a mid-card title on each show, fine. Unify your world titles then. Have 1 champion. Because now with 2 world champions and an IC and a US, you got to have a top star. You have to have a champion. You have to have the top of the food chain, and then it goes down from there. And I think the top of the food chain should be 1 champion. Now, you just created the Women's World Championship, so there's no way they're going to unify them. They're not doing this. I'm just saying what I would like to see happen. I would unify the world titles and have 1 Women's World Champion. Then you have your 2 singles and then your tags. And that's it. That's it. But that's not going to happen. We have too many championships for the women. I think this is a mistake. But I will tell you who I think should win the inaugural Women's Intercontinental Championship. I can only think of one name. The lovely, the beautiful, the talented, veteran Natalya Neidhart. With all of the history between Brett and Owen and Davey with the Intercontinental Championship, I would love a Hart family member to be the first person to hold that belt. Now, ironically, Jim Neidhart never held that belt, but Natalya is my number 1 pick to be the first ever Intercontinental Champion, and I really hope she wins. I hope it's Chelsea and Natalya, or maybe Bayley and Natalya. That's what I think. But with the U.S., I would love to see Chelsea, but I can also understand Bayley. I don't really have too much a dog in that fight, but the IC, I really, really think it should be Natalya. She is my number 1 pick for that. It would be a good little feather in her cap. She's been around so long. She's been around since before the women's division got good. For a while there, it was just her and a couple of others that could really work on the roster. Now, the division has gotten so big, and some stars have surpassed her, but she's always been there. She's always just been a locker room fixture, a leader, a role model, a mentor, a veteran, a good person to have in your locker room, plus all of that family history. To see Natalya wear that belt first, she's my pick. Absolutely Natalya. So once we get the tournament brackets revealed, we'll see where Natalya falls in there. She better be in it. And we'll try to predict her path to the championship. That is kind of it for the news. We need to talk a little bit about Full Gear before we talk about the New Day and Survivor Series. Before we do that, let me just regroup here in the chat, knock out any supers that are coming through. Also, if you don't mind, you're watching this right now, can you hit that thumbs up button for me and smash the like button? The video or the channel really needs the likes, and they help, and so do chat comments, and so do comments. So if you're watching this later on, you're not watching it live, drop one in the comments below. Tell me how ugly I am or something. I don't know. Whatever you want to say, just say it down below. I'd appreciate it. Why don't we talk about Full Gear? Where I just missed. There it is. I was about to say, I had a couple of super chats up here that I lost. I want to say hello to Jimmy Anderson. Good evening to you, all the way from Sweden. And we've got K-Dog's Kennel in the house. What's up, Kevin? Always happy to see you. Just want to wish you and your family a very happy Thanksgiving. Thank you for all you do for us. I don't do it for y'all. I mean, I guess I do, but don't thank me, man. Thank y'all for being here. I thank you guys. No, man, you were the best. Appreciate that, Kevin. All the best to you and your family. I hope you have a great Turkey Day tomorrow. And I got kind of a weird holiday season this year. It's very jacked. So I'll be doing a lot of work and family time on other weekends. It's kind of weird this year, but I appreciate the well wishes, Kevin. Best to you as well. And everybody who's going to be eating themselves some turkey. Make sure you brine it or something. Turkey's not good. So you got to do something to keep it moist because turkey isn't a year-round food. You know what I mean? Hey, good to see Jay Lambo, Red Raven Rucker, Joe Brill, Ian Dunn, Cody Ray. What's up, man? King Azza, Shell Shock, Bonkers, David Brown. Extra shout-outs just here for fun. Chris FX. What's up, bro? TGA Gaming. Get rid of the tag titles. I don't like. You kind of have to have those now because they unified them with the NXTs, right? I'm okay with the tag titles, the women's tag team titles. I don't have too much of an issue with that. I've always thought the women's tag team championships were jokes, but I'm fine with them being there. I really don't care. But I just feel like adding too many championships, it's not a solution to anything, you know? I don't know. We'll see how it goes there. I'm more interested in the IC title tournament because I really want Natty to win that. All right, let's talk about Full Gear. Unfortunately, I had a big gig on Saturday and I was not able to be here for Full Gear to watch it live. I did catch a good portion of the show and got to see a lot of the fan response and feedback from it. And the first thing I want to do is say how great I think Big Boom AJ and Big Justice did. So the Costco guys have been all over TV recently, and a lot of fans have been rolling their eyes at it. Even me, I'm like, man, fuck off with their double chonk. I don't know. I don't understand these guys. They're not for me. I don't watch them. All I know is they go around Costco and hold up the food and go, it's a chonk, and then they eat it and go boom or something. I don't fucking know. I don't know why millions of people watch this shit. And it was kind of eye-rolling because I find them obnoxiously annoying. But then the more you kind of see them, you know, and the more they're on TV, you realize that the fans are not exactly hating this. You know, this is good promotion. This is somebody that has a huge internet following, millions of people. Every video that he's been involved with, I think on the YouTube channel for AEW has gotten like upwards of 10 million views. And when we look at all of the examples of celebrities or people in pop culture or people that might have some fame coming into pro wrestling and how many times we've seen this, dating all the way back to successful things like Andy Kaufman, you know, to extremely stupid things like the Muppets and everything in between. Think about how many ridiculously stupid celebrity appearances. Has anybody ever watched King of the Ring, 1994? Listen to that commentary and think about Art Donovan, how unprepared he was, how he knew nothing of what he was looking at. How much does this guy weigh? Big Boom AJ used to be a wrestler on the independent scene in Jersey 20 years ago, knows how to work, knows how to promote, more importantly, familiar with the AEW product, did a great job in his program or feud with QT Marshall. I didn't really care much about it, but for what they did, it was good and it was incredibly harmless. And they had a 0-hour match on the pay-per-view pre-show that did great. The fans were into it. So for all the fans complaining and stuff, I'm like, we could literally write down dozens upon dozens upon dozens upon dozens of examples of way worse celebrity appearances in pro wrestling, most of them by WWE, some of them even by AEW, of all of these celebrity appearances or the cross promotion that wrestling tends to do sometimes to help attract other viewers. This is one of the least annoying ones pro wrestling has ever done. At least you've got a wrestler here who used to wrestle. Did you see his promo? He like checked all the boxes, mentioned the fucking town, mentioned the building, did all the things you're supposed to do in a promo, took it seriously, and was a total pro. And then here's the icing on the cake. After they have the match was over. I hadn't gone to work yet on Saturday, so I watched that match on YouTube on the 0 hour. The fans were into everything. The match was not bad. It was actually good considering that, you got an older guy in there who at least used to wrestle but hasn't really been in the ring in about 20 years. And they had a really good match. They were doing superplexes and power bombs and all sorts of shit. It was really good. And even Big Justice got involved, got in the ring and speared QT Marshall, allowing Big Boom AJ to hit him with the power bomb for the win. They had the Rizzler. I don't know who the fuck the Rizzler is. Little kid, he keeps going like that. But that little kid knew when that red light was on because every time the camera was on him, or whatever the hell that is, he knew to do it. These guys understand, promote. There's just a kid, just a little tiny little fat kid, but he knew what to do. He got his shit in every time the camera was on him. Big Justice, same thing. These guys were on, I think Big Boom AJ was with Tony Khan on, I don't know, one of them stock channels or something, Fox Business or whatever it is, talking about promotion. And Tony Khan seemed to be very much enjoying working with AJ, even learning a thing or two from him in terms of promotion. So this cross promotion was actually something that benefited all parties. And that's what you're looking for. That's all I ask as a wrestling fan. If WWE or AEW is going to bring in some sort of celebrity, remember back in the Raw guest host days, fucking Jeremy Piven and the Summerfest and all of that stuff. Those are the ones that annoy me. When you parade out celebrities who don't give a single solitary gluten-free fuck about pro wrestling, know nothing about it, are only there to promote their movie or whatever stupid shit they're doing. This is the exact opposite of that. And not one single person in AEW had a negative thing to say about it. It's not like we were hearing stories of, oh, this guy's a complete obnoxious idiot, taking away valuable TV time from established talent. Every interaction and everything that we've heard from talent regarding this whole situation has been nothing but positive. And like I said, here's the icing on the cake. We learned this week that AJ, Big Boom AJ, actually suffered a broken foot before the match. Before the match, during the day, breaks his fucking foot, tells no one, wrestles the match anyway. I could barely tell the difference. When I watched it, he didn't look like he was limping around to me. And now he's in a walking boot. And Fightful wound up confirming that he actually did break his foot earlier in the day and kept it to himself. So he didn't have to disappoint fans who bought a ticket to see him and waste all of that promotion for the match. Because if he would have told the doctors he broke his foot, they might not have cleared him. And then all that promotion, all that work, he would have been left with that guilt. That is a pro. So even though I am not their audience, even though I don't get on TikTok or wherever the fuck they are and watch them go to Costco and eat chonkin' cookies or whatever, I don't care. They did great. I was impressed with everybody involved, and I was happy that the wrestlers and the talent and most of the fans seemed to really enjoy this one. So when it comes to celebrities or crossovers or outsiders coming into our world, just think in your head, if you've been watching wrestling for any significant period of time, 20 years or more, think of all of the times throughout history that we've seen worse celebrity crossovers than this. This is one of the better ones they've done. There's been a hell of a lot worse than this. This was harmless. It served its purpose. AEW benefited. Boom, AJ Boom and Big Justice benefited. And the crowd was into it. They weren't booing, this is stupid, this is boring. They weren't chanting any of that. They were into all of it. So for those who are shitting on, I know AEW's got a fuck ton of problems right now, but for those who are making videos and thumbnails with how stupid this was, I'm like, I'm not really sure if you comprehend history. Because if you think this was one of the worst or cringiest things you've ever seen, all that tells me is you don't have any wrestling knowledge beyond 2019. So doesn't make you smart, makes you stupid if you hate this. Because if you hate this and you're just using this in bad, disingenuous, bad faith, I hate AEW bullshit, and you're shitting on this hard, if you think this is the worst thing you've ever seen, then fuck, I can't imagine what you would have thought of Art Donovan in 1994. And even back in those days too, WWE was so thirsty for celebrities. They were so pathetic in like the mid 90s there. If they could get any celebrity or anybody at all with any sort of mainstream fame oh my God, they would plaster them on TV or mention them over and over. They were so hard up to get anybody to give a fuck about wrestling. And then fast forward years later, they got everybody there, from LeBron to Shaq to Samuel L. Jackson to every celebrity possible. They could probably get them for an appearance if they wanted to. Where back in the 90s, they were desperate. So whenever they were able to sink their hooks into somebody, they made it pretty obnoxious, by featuring them on TV and whatnot. So I think this was one of the least offensive celebrity appearances in pro wrestling history. And I now have respect for those Costco weirdos. Moving on to the main card, there was a couple of other matches on the pre-show. Buddy Matthews and Anna Jay picked up wins on the pre-show, so good for them. The main card saw Private Party retain in their Fatal 4-Way match. By the way, my predictions, I believe I went 7-2. Got Fletcher and Ospreay wrong, and I got Hangman and Jay White wrong, but I got every other match correct, including this one with Private Party getting the win there. But the bigger story in that match was the impending breakup of the Acclaim. So we got the Acclaimed in AEW and the New Day in WWE about to implode. Caster got the pin in this match, and I think it is time to break up the Acclaimed. And I actually hope that Bowens is pushed harder than Caster, to be honest. But I think Caster is going to be a heel. I just worry about Bowen. Like when you break up a tag team, one star goes off to be a singles and the other one kind of remains the same person. That happened to fucking Tucker, happened to Jannetty, happened to lots of other people who lose the star of the team, perceivably, and then they still do the same tag team shtick, come out to the same music, wear the same shit. You can't do that with Bowens. You can't come out there to the Acclaim music and try to scissor everybody if Caster turns heel and goes off on his own. Bowens needs to make something of himself too. And I like Bowens more than Caster, so I think I am going to be rooting for his success. But breaking up the Acclaimed, I think it's time, and I guess we might see that as early as tonight on Dynamite in about an hour. Not sure. I don't think they're currently booked for Dynamite, actually. We'll be running through what we're going to see tonight in a minute, but that breakup is coming, and we'll see how and if they follow through with that at all. We had MJF defeating Roderick Strong. Not too much of a surprise here. Tap out win for MJF. And then after the match, this was kind of weird. He went to go Pillmanize Roddy's leg, puts it in the chair, and he does it. Jumps on the rope and stomps his leg. And then right after that, Taven and Bennett and Cole kind of run out, but it's like too little too late. Kyle O'Reilly is out there. He shoves down Adam Cole. He's pissed off. I guess maybe angry that Roddy got hurt and this, that there was a casualty here because, as a result of Cole and MJF's issues over the past year or so, and that pissed off Kyle O'Reilly. So it feels like we're on the verge of getting an Undisputed Era reunion, but I think it'll probably just be called Undisputed Kingdom, and it'll probably be Cole and Roddy and O'Reilly and Matt Taven and Mike Bennett. It'll probably be the five of them. I would love it if they could bring Bobby Fish back in. That would be fun. And if they can, I feel like sometimes it's too little too late, sometimes going back to something that worked before, and sometimes it's just too late to try that. I don't feel like the door is completely closed on the Undisputed faction, but Taven and Bennett weren't a part of the NXT version, and the NXT version was fun because not only were they all badasses, they were funny. I miss the funny stuff backstage and everything. So if any of that could be resurrected, if we could get the Undisputed Kingdom back, in full strength, doing meaningful stuff on TV in AEW, I hope it works because I really, really enjoyed them. I still have my Undisputed Era throw blanket hung up on the wall that Elizabeth bought me for Christmas 4 Christmases ago. I always loved that group, loved their music, loved their vibe. So if they can try to recreate something here in AEW, hopefully it'll be better than what they tried, last year. Some of those vignettes and stuff were very fun, but everybody's got to be healthy. Everybody's got to be on the same page, and creative has got to be flowing nice for any of that to have a chance to work. So I'm hoping that it will. And I'm also wondering if there was a reason why Cole and company took a little too long to come out there and save Roddy's ass, and he got his ankle broke for it. So we will see. One great thing that I'm happy that I predicted correctly was the Mercedes Moné and Chris Statlander match. This was a banger, and I said it would be. I said this Mercedes needs a good match, number one. She really needs to have a good outing here, but I also felt like she would because, number one, Statlander is really good, and Mercedes has that Shawn Michaels effect to her where she's just real good against bigger women. So when she is giving up size and strength, I feel like that's when Mercedes is at her best, and her and Stat had a tremendous match. And I like this one. I think Fletcher and Ospreay the most on the whole show. But I was really happy that that match delivered, because if that would have been a stinker, I'm not a Mercedes Moné hater, really, but at the same time, she's not my favorite. But I'm not a stan, and I'm not a hater. I'm in between on Mercedes. So when she has a great match, I want her to have great matches, and I will acknowledge when she does have one. And I think if she wouldn't have had a good one here, then it would have been maybe time to start saying, okay, is this girl really worth the money? But she came through, good match, retains the TBS championship. And now that she got on the other side of that, now I feel like at any time we can start talking about her dropping the belt. Maybe Revolution would be a good spot for that. I don't know against who. Thunder Rosa might be fun. Or somebody else that she could have a really, really fun match with. But you would think when she drops that belt, then she's going to be in world championship contention at some point as well. And I would have loved to see Statlander win the title here. The problem is I still have a sour taste in my mouth with the way they changed and turned Statlander babyface with no explanation, when it wouldn't have been hard to give us one or to shoot an angle explaining the transition, because after Statlander had that crazy hardcore match with Willow that was so good, a heel run and her to continue that, I would have been fine with. So them switching her back and being so lazy about it was annoying. So I didn't really want to see her win the championship here. But I think also, don't discount Willow. I mean, if Mercedes is going to drop the belt at her next major title defense, let's say that's Revolution, Willow. Yeah, I'd say Willow or maybe Thunder Rosa would be fun. I don't really care much about Britt winning it, but I think Willow or Thunder Rosa would be great options there for Revolution, if Revolution is going to be the dropping spot for Mercedes, which will be here in LA. And my plan is to go to the Dynamite in Oceanside. I'm going to try to be at that late February, which is right up the road from me. But I probably will not go to Revolution. All right, Jay White defeated Hangman Page. That was one of the matches I got wrong. I thought Hangman would get the win here since Jay White got the win against him on the last pay-per-view. But apparently I wasn't realizing that he was already 4-0 against Hangman. Now he's 5-0. Hit him with the Blade Runner for the win. Hangman is becoming more unhinged. He's pushing and shoving, going fucking nuts after the match. I'm loving this Hangman because it doesn't matter if he loses. He's so great. He can literally take a loss and he's still Hangman at the end of it because he's kind of out of his mind right now. And we would see him later on in the show. So I was actually pleasantly surprised with this incorrect pick because I like Jay White. I've been worried that, and again, this is all just assumption, I've been worried that Jay White is maybe regretting signing with AEW, and I just to see him get some big victories here, I think that's very important. You should not forget about Jay White. He should not ever be lost in your shuffle or be lost in the shuffle. Part of the reason why I didn't think he would do great in WWE is because of getting lost in the shuffle, and I don't like seeing that happen to him on AEW, and the fact that he's gotten 2 pay-per-view matches in a row victories, that's good. That's real good. And we would see him later again as well in the main event. Match of the night, I got to say Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay. Holy shit. Too many spots to list here, but in my predictions, I was not sure. I picked Ospreay, but only because he's Ospreay, and I'm like, are they going to really want to beat him on pay-per-view? But what would Fletcher do if he lost here? The point here is to establish Fletcher. Ospreay is established. A loss here for Ospreay will not get in the way of him being world champion one day. And it would do wonders for Fletcher. So I can understand why I got this run wrong. And I said so in my predictions. I could be wrong about this. And I was. And Fletcher got the win with just an amazing brain buster on the turnbuckle that just folded Ospreay right over. Just the way he bumped. and Fletcher falling on top of him kind of like backwards like that for the pin, not to mention all the spots with the stairs and the tables and all that stuff that they were doing. And some of those, I mean, that fucking hidden blade, it is so crazy. That whole match was just unreal. It's why I really, really can love AEW sometimes, is because of matches like this. Now, granted, a lot of matches are essentially wrestled the same way, but this one stood out. This one stood out to me. Loved it. Very happy for Fletcher. He's great. I think he's a tremendous heel. He is excellent at playing a cackling, obnoxious heel. You know what I mean? Just a douchebag with an annoying voice. So great. And he's good. Ospreay put him over. Fun all the way around. I don't do star ratings, but I'm giving that one 5 stars. It was fucking fabulous. Then we had the Mariah May and Mina Shirakawa, I should say, champagne celebration. Now, one thing I guess I could technically consider an incorrect prediction is that I predicted Toni Storm to show up here because she recently retired, but I'm like, well, that's bullshit. She's just going to show up in the next available opportunity and attack Mariah May. And if they booked a champagne celebration on pay-per-view, that was all the evidence I needed. Toni Storm's interfering in this 1,000%. She did not. She did not interfere. What happened was something that I was not expecting to happen, and that after Mariah and Mina Shirakawa, I want to call her Marina Shafir, Mina Shirakawa toasted, Mina kind of turns her back, and Mariah grabs a champagne bottle. And so the fans, so she's given away the turn. So before she turns on Mina, the fans already know it because Mina's got her back turned. Mariah's got the champagne bottle, and she's going to hit her with it. Mina turns around to see her, kicks the champagne bottle out of her hand. Or I guess she goes to hit her first. She goes to hit Mina. She misses. Then Mina kicks the bottle out of her hand and then spears Mariah May off the stage through a table. And they landed kind of wonky. And I think Mina Shirakawa landed right on her face, right on her mouth, because she came up bloody on her mouth. She probably knocked a tooth out or something. It was really kind of gnarly spot, but speared Mariah May through the table, and she was great. Just the way Mina was like looking into the camera with the blood. Oh, it was so good. So it was actually Mariah May that tried to do the turn here, and Mina who turned the tables. So we didn't get Toni Storm showing up. We got the split between these two. Now I would assume that's going to result in a match. I don't think we should be giving Mina Shirakawa a title match. She wrestles, right? Yeah, she wrestles. But I don't think she should be earning a title match. But if we get some sort of match in the ring between those two, that could be the return of Toni Storm, where she maybe aligns with Mina. I mean, Mariah is the one that tried to turn on Mina here, so Mariah will remain the heel. I feel like Toni Storm will come out whenever, or come back whenever that issue is going to be blown off. So that was pretty good because I wasn't expecting that. And it was a pretty fun segment, especially with that added blood there by Shirakawa at the end. It was funny. I was watching AEW's recap, November Rain recap package of Full Gear. They completely left out. There's no footage of Daniel Garcia and Jack Perry in that. And Daniel Garcia, in a match that I wasn't confident about, but turned out to be correct, Daniel Garcia defeated Jack Perry to become the new TNT champion. I'm very happy for him. I thought that they could push this to World's End, but now that we see that Garcia is in the Continental Classic, would have been hard to do that, but that's what I said in my predictions. I'm like, you could stretch this one more pay-per-view for Daniel Garcia to fully tell this story. But I predicted him here because it was going to be the only title change on the whole show. And if you're going to have a title change, I felt like that's the only one that really made any sense. And Garcia did beat Jack Perry. I believe he'd tap him out, right? And that's that. Daniel Garcia is the new TNT champion, and I think it's over for Jack Perry. The scapegoat thing, I was all for it when it started. Okay, let's see what they can do. I was all for the Elite, tombstoning Tony Khan, and Okada joining, and he was hilarious for a while, and I was very interested to see where it would go. I didn't think it would be a company-saving angle or anything, but I thought that maybe they had found something here because the Bucks are very, very disliked. And, if you start this Elite angle, maybe it can start generating some interest. It did not. It really just kind of fell flat. It felt like a lot of it got forgotten about for a while. I mean, that's a problem. I think that's why some fans, there is so much bad faith. I mean, it's 90% bad faith, but the fans with legitimate criticisms of AEW who aren't just looking to shit on it, this is what we're talking about. It's the inability to follow through with stuff. And the way they were, the stuff they were doing with the Elite at first looked like this was going to be a 2024 dominated story. This is going to be the top story in the company for the whole year. And all of a sudden you forget all about Tony Khan got beaten up, and that was never paid off or dealt with or furthered really in any way. And none of the Elite stuff really was. And they just became like an afterthought. The Bucks just became champions again, not champions with power. Nobody's fearful of the Bucks, on the roster. I liked at first the interesting maybe dynamic with Moxley's crew, how the Bucks are kind of just getting out of their way. They're the politicians and the Death Riders are the cartel. And there's that, it's that shady agreement between the two. I was even kind of liking that. But what they tried with Jack, I appreciated the attempt. I appreciated Jack taking his character in that direction, driving that bus around, repurposing that championship belt, which was awesome. But the character itself to me is just not, I don't know, just flat, just not flat, not interesting. He doesn't have enough heat. That was one thing about this Garcia and Jack Perry match is I liked some of the stuff they were doing in the build. Even Garcia, when he like jacked Perry up against the wall, no pun intended, jacked Perry up against the wall. And then Jack goes, "Hey, they used to dance for me too." That was good. But Perry does not have enough heat. He doesn't have, fans don't care. You want fans to, I feel like some fans don't like Jack Perry, but they don't like him for the wrong reasons, like they just don't like him. We want fans to be hating him, and really, really disliking his character. I think fans are just bored with Jack Perry. They don't really like him as a person, I don't think. And a lot of fans just don't care about him for whatever reason. He doesn't bring enough energy, doesn't bring enough charisma, doesn't bring enough drama to camera. He's a fine worker, can do his thing, been in the company a long time. I don't dislike him. I've met him. I got pictures with me and Jack. He's great. But there's something about him that just does not connect. And there's something about his energy. Like I saw him in the Jericho Cruise and met him. And then I saw him at WrestleCon. And he really did have this look on his face like he didn't want to be there. Like he was bored off his ass. And sometimes I just think that can kind of come through on camera, and whatever his issues are, it's not for me to say what he's missing, what he needs, what he needs to do better or whatever, because they're trying stuff with him. They tried this and it wasn't like the worst thing in the world. He was a fine TNT champion. Like I said, I loved his custom belt that he made, and I think he can have some great matches. He had some great matches before he turned heel, but something about this specific presentation, I wouldn't even put him in the top 15 most interesting characters in AEW. So I think Jack Perry, since he's already kind of crazy, he wants to be sacrificed in the ring and all that weird shit. So he's already a little not there. I would book him to have a full-blown nervous breakdown. Just nervous breakdown out of his mind where he transforms himself back into Jungle Boy. Tarzan music, Tarzan underwear, the whole nine. Only no Luchasaurus, no Marco Stunt. He's just going to come out as Jungle Boy, bring back the song, and make him out of his mind. Make him somebody who is creepy but doesn't know it. Like maybe there's kids at ringside, but when he approaches them, the parents like pull the kids away. No, don't get near him. Maybe he wants to give away. Like he should just bring a giant tree branch to the ring, and maybe like a dead rat he caught in the jungle, try to give it. You know how like pets bring you home, like a cat will bring you a dead rat as a present, or something like that. Like maybe he tries to give like a dead animal or a dead fish, maybe a dead fish that he speared in the jungle, give it to a kid as a present. And the parents are like, no, stay away from him. He's fucking out of his mind. Maybe do backstage vignettes where he approaches people and he makes women really uncomfortable. Or, maybe with the Elite, the Bucks are just full blown, like the Bucks are just bewildered by him. They're just like a little bit weirded out by him, but Okada is full-blown scared, terrified. scared of him, scared to be alone with him, that type of thing. And I think Okada would be funny in that role, who's a guy that could probably murder Jack Perry in the ring in a fight, but Jungle Boy is scaring the shit out of him. Where the Bucks know him a little bit better, so they're like, okay, he's just a little bit out of his mind right now, but we do find this a little peculiar why he's acting like this, but he's Jack, so we're not too worried about it. But Okada is basically like, keep me away from him. Maybe that could work. And just make him fucking crazy. And coming out there to the song and somebody asks him like, why are you Jungle Boy again? He's like, what are you talking about? I've always been Jungle Boy. I don't know. Just something like that, just to try something. I'm all about trying shit because now with Jack Perry no longer being the champion, I don't see the point in him driving that bus around anymore. And if he just wants to keep this current look where, he looks like the kid from That 70s Show, he's got the hair and the beard or whatever, that's fine. But I just feel like you're going to have no momentum. And there's no reason to put him in any sort of significant program at all unless he undergoes another change of some kind. And maybe when Kill Switch Luchasaurus gets healthy again, by the way, all the best to him. Hope his recovery is going well. Maybe they can link back up and form a tag team again. I don't know. But I feel like this rendition of Jack Perry and the entire Elite faction as it currently stands lost a lot of momentum, and I no longer give a single fuck about them, except for Okada, who I will always love. But in terms of Jack and the Bucks, I don't even need to see them on TV, to be honest. I'll be perfectly fine with AEW without them there. So we will see what happens to all three of those schmucks in the future. I got to say, man, Takeshita versus Ricochet was the biggest letdown on the show. A lot of fans did not like this one. It was thrown on the card last minute, and I was able to add that to my predictions in a YouTube short. And I predicted Takeshita just because I'm like, they're just adding this match 2 days before the show. Why would you do a title change in that situation? I feel like Takeshita's got to win. He did, but it was a match with a lot of rest holds, and some fans were just thinking that on paper, the match should have been better in the ring. Because when you look at it on paper, you're like, ooh, that's sexy. It wasn't sexy. It was just a match. But Takeshita won, and I'm happy about that because I think it would have been a little bit too early for Ricochet to take down Takeshita, especially in a match that was just announced. So, right call was made there. Then in the semi-main, it was Bob Lashley defeating Swerve Strickland. I did get this one right. Lashley was pretty dominant, though. I mean, Swerve had some offense there. He stomped him through the table. I think they went through a barricade. There was all sorts of shit going on. And Swerve took it to Bobby Lashley. Shelton was out there. MVP was out there. Shelton got thrown out. But in the end, it was Bobby Lashley just straight beating Swerve Strickland with the Hurt Lock, putting him down and beating him. And that was a very dominant win by Lashley and probably the way that first match needed to go. So, I really hope that the Hurt Syndicate can grow momentum and become this dangerous, unstoppable faction because we already have one of those in AEW. And right now, I think the money in AEW, what I would do, and I wouldn't wait too long either. I would just wait a couple of more months. I would continue having the Hurt Syndicate crush everybody. I would continue to have the Death Riders do the same thing. And then I would have these two groups cross paths somehow. Now, it's going to be hard to do when I think Moxley's title run is kind of set, but I mean, what if you just built to Lashley and that would be so much better. I mean, I think a lot of the AEW fan base wants to see Darby Allin win the title. I think the end game here is going to be Moxley dropping the belt to him. But, right now as a wrestling fan, when I look at the whole company in general, I am interested in a potential Hurt Syndicate and Death Riders, intersection, where they kind of bump into each other one week. And then it's like, and the fans are like, oh shit. We didn't even think about that. Oh my God. That'd be like Wyatt family Shield type of stuff. And that is where I kind of think the money might be right now. We'll have to see if that winds up being the case or if AEW will realize that as well. Like, we gotta clash these two factions because, they're both dominant. At some point they're going to have to come together. That could be a lot of fun, but Moxley and the Death Riders have a lot of other stuff going on with a lot of other AEW talent right now, not the Hurt Syndicate. But Lashley getting the win over Swerve, I don't think it's the end of that issue at all. And we'll see if Swerve gets a return match where he can beat Lashley. Maybe that's what they're building towards here. We will see. But that issue certainly isn't over, and I don't think the Hurt Syndicate is done growing either. So a lot still to come there. Then in the main event, it was Jon Moxley defending his AEW championship, of course, against Orange Cassidy. The one thing I cannot get past in this match is the scratch. That was so fucked up. I couldn't even look at it. Like, I get squeamish about certain things. I didn't think I would be squeamish about that. My stuff is mostly teeth stuff and like bones breaking and shit. That makes me squeamish, but not just blood in general on an arm or a leg or a back, but watching Moxley's nails tear the skin off of Orange Cassidy's back. Yeah, god damn. It still hurts just to think about that. That was so fucking gnarly. So the match was great. People really loved the match. Of course, it was violent, just like we thought it would be. Mox wins with the Death Rider, right? And Orange Cassidy is all bleeding after the match. They dump disinfectant all over his cuts. Oh my god! So they're just destroying poor Orange Cassidy, and that's when Hangman Page comes out. I think Moxley gets on the mic, right, and he just challenges anybody who wants a piece of me, whatever. Hangman Page comes out. And he nails Wheeler Yuta and confronts Jon Moxley, but then Christian attacks Moxley from behind. And I think the deal is here, Hangman has got an agreement with Christian Cage to where if he helps him cash in that contract, then he gets the first shot at the championship. So Christian attacks Moxley, and he's about to cash in until Jay White comes in and stops him. And then Pac and Claudio attack Jay White, and the Death Riders get out of Dodge. They run out into the parking lot where they have a waiting car, but then in comes a speeding car smashing into their getaway car, and it's Darby Allin. They completely wrecked a couple of rentals here, I guess. Darby Allin gets out. I think he hit his face on the windshield or something because he's bleeding from the face, and he gets out, and the Death Riders hop into a different car and speed away, like a Chevy or something. And they speed away, and the closing image of the show is Darby angry with blood dripping down his face. So Darby obviously is the one coming after Moxley. And it was a really, really kind of overbooked ending to the show. It felt like what you would see on a go-home show. Like, all of that is what they should have done on Wednesday. You know what I mean? Some people thought it was the worst go-home show in history before Full Gear. I didn't think it was that bad, but it certainly wasn't great. But what they did at Full Gear is what they should have done at the end of last week's show, it feels like, kind of, even though Orange Cassidy was the one getting the title shot. But Darby now being hell-bent on taking down this group, and I feel like Darby and Moxley is going to be the end game here. And you look ahead to Revolution, and what pay-per-view is after Revolution? Double or Nothing? So it feels like Darby is the front runner right now for the next championship shot, but there's so many other factors to consider here. Like, did they give Christian this contract for him to unsuccessfully cash in? It feels like whenever this happens, he might actually do it. So we might have some hot potato stuff going on here. Plus, if the plan is for Darby Allin to beat Moxley for the championship, what about Mount Everest? Is he still planning to do that? He wants to climb Mount Everest and apparently jump a line of buses in a car. He wants to risk his life every day. So if he still is planning on climbing Everest in April, how can you put the belt on him? He needs like 2 months to prepare for that shit. So do they do something where, let's say he faces Moxley at Revolution, maybe he wins the championship, and then Christian comes and cashes in on him, knocking Darby out, beating Darby for the title. So maybe you do that. So maybe it's Moxley, Darby. Darby beats him. Then after the match, Christian comes in and cashes in his contract. And in the process, they injure Darby Allin, writing him off TV so he can go do Mount Everest. He's injured in the match. He's going to be off TV. They decimate him. Christian is now the new champion. And then he's going to have to face Hangman Page. But then maybe Moxley gets back into the mix or something and wins the title back and holds it until Double or Nothing when Darby comes back, and then he wins. I don't know. That's too much. That's Darby beating Moxley twice. That wouldn't make sense. So maybe you do Moxley and Darby at Revolution, but Darby doesn't win the title. Maybe Christian costs him the match or something and then tries to cash in and fails. And then Moxley holds the title until Double or Nothing. Darby's injured in the process, goes to climb Mount Everest, comes back after Everest, challenges Mox for the title at Double or Nothing, wins it there. I don't know. It's awfully far away. We'll have to see. But Moxley losing the title to Darby feels like what they're building towards. And if that's going to be Revolution, would you think that's too early? Does the Death Riders need to roll a little harder for a while here? You know, is there still going to be a Shane McMahon reveal? You know, plus, forget Revolution, fucking World's End. You know, it might be Mox and Darby at World. Well, no, it can't be that. Darby's in that Continental Classic. So it might have to be a Revolution thing for them. I don't even know why Darby's in the Continental Classic. Doesn't make any sense. But where do you think that will go? Like, how do you think, book me in the chat or in the comments if you're watching this on demand, book me your next 3 AEW champions in order. Just give me ideas because I don't know. My guess is no better than y'all's. So let me know what you think about that. So anyway, overall, I thought Full Gear was a really, really solid pay-per-view. It was long again. It was 4 hours, and these matches are back-to-back too. You know, WWE spaces shit out. You get 4.5-minute long fucking video packages, backstage stuff in between matches since they tend to run smaller cards, a lot of filler. Where with AEW, it's only a 4-hour show, and I've lectured the fans about being pussies before. The shows are too long. I'm like, come on, you're in your 20s. Don't be a pussy. Suck it up. If the worst thing in your life is you're forced to watch wrestling for 4 hours, oh, poor baby. Hope you can handle that. You know, Jesus. So I always kind of laughed at fans like complaining, the shows are too long. I'm like, you're sitting on your ass. You're sitting on your fucking couch. What do you mean? How are you tired from this? So I always like laugh at the fans who like can't handle a 4-hour show. But I do agree 4.5 hours and 5 hours is long. And when you add in a 0 hour to that, then that's about what you're looking at. So when you have 4 solid hours and then 5+ hours in total of wrestling and it's match after match after match after match and you got nothing in between, that can be tiresome. That can burn you out a little bit mentally. So I understand that the shows, even though time-wise they're not long, they feel long because the matches are, all these matches are wrestling crazy style and it's one after another. It's rapid fire matches. Boom, here's a crazy match. Boom, here's a crazy match. Boom, here's a crazy match. So I understand that, you know, it is a lot and it can be somewhat long, but I feel like pay-per-views, if you're spending $50, I want a good solid 4 hours of wrestling. I do. So I think with AEW, maybe a little bit of variety here. I saw a couple of people with the opinion of, you know, everybody in AEW wrestles the same way. That's not exactly true, but that's not exactly false either. I understand what they're saying when they say that, but not all those matches are the same. You know, Fletcher and Ospreay was not the same as Takeshi and Ricochet to me at all. So there are stories, individual stories in individual matches, individual story beats in individual matches that are being told if you're paying attention to the stories. But I understand that sentiment, but I think the reason it feels that way is because these matches are so quick and one after another. And I think there was 10 matches total on the show. And I think WWE doing 5 is too little. I think 7 or 8 is that sweet spot. And I think if AEW committed themselves to no more than 8 matches, they could maybe have a better flow of where fans wouldn't get mentally burned out or wouldn't get tired because you'd have some opportunities to maybe put a backstage interview here or there. Maybe do some more backstage stuff, you know, at AEW, or I'm sorry, on pay-per-views. Post-match promos and I don't know, things like that might be fun to kind of widen the gap in between, you know, these high intense matches. Just an idea. But overall, Full Gear, I predicted that it would be a solid show. It was. I think the only real letdowns there were Ricochet and Takeshita, which by no means was a bad match. I think just it was seeing those two on paper, you would expect the greatest match of fucking all time, and it was not. So that was kind of a letdown. Other than that, I think the show really delivered overall with everything they did. Here's what we have for the Continental Classic brackets. In the Gold League, we have Darby Allin, Will Ospreay, Ricochet, Brody Lee, Juice Robinson, and Claudio. In the blue league, we've got Okada, the Beast Mortos, Kyle Fletcher, Mark Briscoe, Shelton Benjamin, and Daniel Garcia. Holy shit. So we've got some good first-time matches. We're going to get Darby and Ospreay. We're going to get Darby and Ricochet, right? Everybody faces each other, right? So that's unbelievably awesome. We're going to get Okada and Shelton Benjamin? We are? And Dan, see, I don't like Darby or Garcia in this thing. You know, to me, Darby should be focusing on the World Championship, and Garcia is a TNT champion now who's going to go into this tournament and take multiple losses. I'd leave Garcia out of that, but too late now. Here's what we're going to see on Dynamite tonight. Where did I put it? We have Darby Allin versus Brody Lee. I'm sorry, Brody King. Darby Allin versus Brody King, my bad. Ricochet versus Claudio, that'll be good. Mark Briscoe versus Shelton Benjamin. And Jericho versus Ishii 2 for the Ring of Honor Championship. Hopefully, Ishii will beat him. And Jamie Hayter versus Queen Aminata. That is what's on tap for Dynamite that goes live in 35 minutes, which means that's how much longer we have to finish up this podcast. So we better get on it. Let's briefly talk about Monday's Raw, shall we? I'm not going to review the whole show. We're just going to talk about the key points here, and there's one major key point that we saw on Monday, or key story, I should say, and that is the big matchup between Alpha Academy and the New Day that saw Alpha Academy pick up big upset clean win over Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston. Tozawa hit the sky-high senton onto Xavier Woods for the win. Now, that led to a huge argument backstage with Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, the best one yet. A lot of the New Day breakup tease that's been going on for, 2 or 3 months now, maybe 4 months. A lot of this has been kind of annoying, a little bit uninteresting. Xavier Woods, I think, is doing a good job of being unlikable because I'm starting to really not like his little whiny ass. And so that's a credit to him. But overall, I didn't know if I wanted to see the New Day break up or not. I thought that if Big E's not coming back and he's never going to be cleared again, then leaving them together as a tag team, you could, but you could also split them up and see if you can get Xavier a singles belt before he wraps it up. Plus Kofi, could maybe do something. He's a veteran now, former world champion. Maybe you can get something out of them individually if you decide to break them up, even though it would be sad. And they've gone on record saying they never wanted to break up. So I wasn't really sure about where all of this was going, but we did know the 10-year anniversary or reunion was coming up. I thought it was going to be this month. And I remember mentioning in September when they started having problems, I'm like, can they stretch this out all the way to November when this big 10-year anniversary is? Feels like that's too far off. Well, now it's this Monday. And they've got a New Day reunion planned, and Big E will be there. But the two, Xavier and Kofi on Monday, after their loss to Alpha Academy, got into a major heated argument backstage that was the best one they have done. It was so believable. It was so real. It felt so awesome. I mean, it had a lot of fans in tears. A lot of fans were heartbroken at this because for the first time you felt real emotion in some of these arguments. And Kofi said, Kofi got really pissed, and he said there's a reason that him and Big E never let Xavier called the shots because he does too many stupid things. And then Xavier went on to take credit for Kofi becoming champion. He said it was because of him that he became champion. And Kofi said the reason that Xavier's never been a champion is because he's just not good enough. And Xavier said he pissed away Kofi Mania in 6 seconds losing to Brock Lesnar. And then they almost come to blows. Kofi said, if you weren't who you were, and Xavier's like, what? And you actually think they're going to fight? And then Kofi just says, I'll see you at the reunion. And he storms off. So now we've got the reunion. I'll tell you what, man, if there was ever a time to bring back the barbershop, this is it. Just get the two of them there to hash it out. And then Kofi Kingston can dive through the window to try to escape the wrath of Xavier Woods. I would definitely bring back the barbershop. Why? They should. I swear that would be a funny gag where if Big E played the role of Brutus, because Big E's a funny guy. And Big E, I don't know what his demeanor is going to be. I don't know if Big E's going to be serious to try to get these guys on the same page, or if he's going to be lighthearted. Come on, y'all. We're brothers. Enough of this bullshit. And so if Big E erects a barbershop set in the ring, and they're coming out here and they're like, what is this all about? He's like, come on, man. This is me trying to bring you guys back together with a little, with a little comedy or a lighthearted joke or a rib by bringing the barbershop. Now, we know what happened on the barbershop. That was designed to bury the heat between the Rockers. Shawn and Marty were not getting along. They were arguing a lot on TV, so Brutus brought them there to kind of hash out their problems. They did. They hug, and they raise each other's hands, and that's when Shawn, boom, super kicks Marty and throws him right through the glass window. So if Xavier kicks Kofi and throws him through a glass window, that would be tremendous. So Big E bringing out a barbershop set would be pretty funny. Don't think that's going to happen, but he is going to be there. Now, what I have said all the way back in the beginning, when this first started, I said I think the ultimate swerve here would be to tease us all this time that they're going to break up. And instead of breaking up, not only do they not break up, but we get the surprise announcement that Big E has been cleared by doctors to get back in the ring, and the New Day is back together. Because think about it. What, at this point, after what we saw from Xavier and Kofi on Raw, what at this point would bring them back together? They seem pretty pissed. So I don't think like a tag title shot will bring them together. Something just random isn't going to be enough for them to make up and get back on the same page, water under the bridge, all this crap that's been going on. I think the only thing and the only person that could make that happen would be Big E, especially if he announced that he's cleared to come back to the ring. And on the 10-year anniversary, the New Day reforms to full strength. That would be the ultimate, but that's real life intersecting here with pro wrestling. And in order for that scenario to happen in real life, Big E needs to be cleared from doctors from his broken neck that he's been out of action with for what, 3 years now, something like that. So that would be my ultimate. I mean, if they pull something like that off, we're going to watch Raw on Monday together. If something like that happened, I promise I will cry on camera. It'll be that special. But that's just best case scenario. That's a pipe dream probably. What's more likely is that they're going to do an actual split here. And if Big E is in the middle of this, he can't get physical. So, if Big E is here and he's not cleared, he's not going to be able to get physical. So it's not like Xavier can attack him. So I don't know how they're going to do it. You can't, whatever they do, the blow off has to be Monday. They can't kind of temporarily come back together, but you can feel like there's still animosity and you just continue doing the same shit you're doing on TV. Monday has to be it. You're either back together, full strength, 100% with no chance of ever breaking up ever again, or you split up. Two options. That's it. There's no third option. So I don't want to see any Band-Aid put on this. I want to see permanent stitches, permanent sutures. Don't just Band-Aid this and the Band-Aid comes flying off and you open the wound all over again, in just a couple of weeks. This has to be permanent, or it has to be permanent either way. You're together permanently until you retire, or you are split up. And then you come back together before you retire. It's just going to be one of them. So let me know what you think is going to happen in the chat there with New Day. Also on Raw, we saw the final in-ring promo between Gunther and Damian Priest, big World Championship match on Saturday. That's really not that hard to predict because after they said their piece, cut their promos on each other, we had a brawl. Gunther got the upper hand at first. Priest turns the tables and puts Gunther through the table via a razor's edge on the outside of the ring. So Gunther got the last laugh there. When you do that heel babyface math, usually comes out that the champion's going to retain the championship at Survivor Series, and I expect him to. I would not be taking the belt off of Gunther yet. But the two of them had their final segment. It wasn't bad. We also had Finn Balor and JD McDermott successfully retaining their tag team championships over the War Raiders in a tag title match. They had some help from Dom and Carlito in that. We had the Creeds defeating the LWO, and we had Braun Breaker taking on Ludwig Kaiser. That table spot was nuts. So Ludwig is like laid up on the table. He's kind of like leaning on the table. And then Braun Breaker goes to do his running spear. Ludwig moves and Breaker spears chest first the corner of the announce table. And just, my God, I mean, he had a lot of help. The cameraman was shaky as all hell. So I don't think he took it dead straight in the heart. But like if he ran full speed, what did they clock him at? 27 miles an hour, something like that. He runs, and if he were to hit the point of that wooden table right in the center of his sternum, that would kill you. That would legitimately kill you. Or severely puncture a lung or your heart or something's going to go badly there. So just the velocity that he hit that, I was like, God damn, that was a great looking spot. Spot of the month. Spot of the year, maybe. Jesus, it was so good. And he continued to wrestle after that. After that, he's back in the ring continuing to do moves. I'd still be in the fucking hospital. Jesus Christ. So that was super fun. But the match ends in a DQ. Sheamus comes out and attacks. Big brawl after the match. And a screaming Adam Pearce comes out to make the triple threat Intercontinental Championship match for Saturday's Survivor Series. It'll be Breaker defending against Ludwig and Sheamus. Breaker was caught backstage later on. He's like, I don't give a fuck. he was basically like, finally, Adam Pearce did something smart or whatever he said. He was basically like, I don't give a shit how many opponents I have. I will win because I'm better than them. So I did kind of enjoy that vibe from Breaker. I hate his name, but I love him as a character. Braun Breaker. Like, what were they thinking with that? I know, it's his idea, Greg. I don't give a fuck. I don't care if it's his idea. It's the stupidest name ever. So I will die on that hill. I don't care if he came up with it. I don't care if it was his idea. It's stupid. So Breaker with 2 Ks. Get the fuck out of here. Anyway, I'm not gonna go on a rant on wrestler names because I really do love Rex Steiner, and I just wish that was his name. He's intense. He's so good. He's natural at this. And he comes off as someone who was legitimately born to do it. And he kind of was. He's got this in his family already, but he was born knowing how to cut a promo. He was cutting promos in the womb, practicing in there, in the fluid. Sometimes he'd sneak out at night and leave the uterus when his mom was sleeping, go have little wrestling matches with other fetuses to practice, and then climb back in before she wakes up. He was born for it, man. And I think he's great. And I think he's going to be world champion. And I just hate that there's going to be a name called Braun Breaker on WWE's world title lineage. It's just annoying. There's still time. Walter became Gunther while he was a champion. He was Intercontinental Champion, right? I think. Did they change him in the middle of his Intercontinental title run? I think they did. Why can't they do it with Breaker? He's the Intercontinental Champion right now. Why can't next week he's just Rex Steiner? Forget everything we said about that Braun Breaker nonsense. I'm Rex Steiner now. One can hope. I loved the backstage spot stuff. It's the first time I've enjoyed anything that the, what are they called? The Final Testament has done. Karrion Kross and his crew. So Miz shows up in their locker room. He goes, dudes, the Wyatt Six are here. I saw him. And Kross is like, did they see you? And Miz is like, no, they didn't see me, but come on, let's go get him or whatever. Or I think Kross is like, let's go get him. And then he tells Scarlett, he goes, you stay here. And then Miz goes, maybe I should stay here too, which was hilarious. I actually like Miz with these guys. It's a, what's it called? Odd couple type of thing. And Miz is like, maybe I'll stay here too. And Kross is like, get the fuck out there. You're coming with us. So they go to leave to find the Wyatt Six. And as soon as they leave and close the door, Scarlett is looking in the mirror and the camera pans over to show zombie Nikki Cross like in the corner, creepy as all hell. And then I think they go to commercial. We come back. Miz and Cross and crew is coming back. They were unsuccessful locating the Wyatt Six. Miz is about to walk into Scarlett's door and Cross is like, dude, knock. My girl could be naked in there. So he knocks. There's no answer. They go in to find Scarlett on the floor. She's freaked out. Cross tries to pick her up and she's punching him and shit. And he's like, it's me. And he goes, who did this to you? And she's like, Nikki Cross. So that was kind of cool. I like that. Good stuff there. I believe was this the main event? Was Nia and Bianca the main event? So Nia Jax and Bianca Belair one-on-one War Games advantage match. The winner of this gets the advantage in War Games, and the babyfaces were already down at the time of this match, down a woman. So there was a potential 5-on-3 situation here if they were to lose this. Bayley shows up and actually helps Bianca win. Nia Jax throws, I think, Bianca by her braid into the steps. Referee's dealing with her. Nia climbs up on the ropes to BS with the fans. Bayley shows up, pulls her legs out from under her. She crash lands, and then Bianca comes back in, hits Nia Jax with the 450 and wins. And then I think it was shortly after that they announced Bayley as the 5th woman. So Bayley has taken the place of Jade Cargill, who incidentally is injured. We talked about this on the podcast last week. She was knocked out of action, at the mic drop on Saturday that I uploaded. So she was knocked out of action. They did the angle on SmackDown where she was landed on the car and attacked. And I'm like, not only does that take her out of the U.S. title tournament, but also War Games. I wonder why. Because she's injured. So she's going to be out for several months. Don't know what that's going to mean for the tag team championships now. And hopefully she'll be back in time to where if they plan to do her and Bianca at WrestleMania, they can still do that. If not, they might have to go to plan B, which could be Bianca and Rhea Ripley, who are both War Games partners as well. So maybe you could, if you feel like Jade isn't going to be able to be available for WrestleMania for the Bianca match, then maybe you start building Bianca and Rhea Ripley right now. We will have to see there. But that leaves us with Survivor Series. So here's what we got for Survivor Series. 5 matches on the card, and we now have to predict those matches. Let's start with the Women's War Games match. It's Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Naomi, Io Sky, and Bayley versus Liv Morgan, Nia Jax, Raquel Rodriguez, Tiffany Stratton, and Candice LeRae. The babyface team is way stronger. You have 5 former women's champions on the babyface side, where you only got 2 on the heel side. The baby faces should win this, but you've got some interesting dynamics here. Bianca has not liked Bayley, which has been weird because of everything Bianca went through with Damage Control. She seemed to forgive Io Sky. She was even dancing on Raw with her a couple of weeks ago. So her issues with Bayley, I understand, but her being cool with Io is a little weird. But Bayley essentially, I think, came out on Raw to kind of prove herself to Bianca. So they're on the same page for now, but Bianca's got big issues with Io and Bayley. You also have Rhea Ripley there, who's kind of one-track mind focused on Liv Morgan right now, and Naomi, who could turn out to be the person who attacked Jade Cargill. I think it's down to Naomi or Bayley. It's going to be one of those two who took out Jade. Maybe Bayley could do it because she's better as a heel, and it got her into the U.S. title tournament, especially if she wins. Or I'm sorry, she's not going to, she was already in that. It got her into the War Games match. But, maybe that's something that could help her on her way to the United States title. Maybe she cheats in the finals or something like that. But Naomi might make a little bit more sense there. I'm not sure. But I feel like it's going to be one of the two of them. So the only way I see the heels winning here is if those dynamics don't work, is if Bayley cannot coexist with a Bianca, and Bianca can't coexist with Io, and maybe Bianca and Rhea Ripley, they're teammates here, but before Jade Cargill, came in and teamed up with Bianca, this is the match I wanted for WrestleMania this coming year, is Bianca and Rhea Ripley, but didn't feel like we were going to get to that. And if Jade Cargill's injury puts her out long enough to where WWE's not confident in her availability for WrestleMania, I would switch gears here and start building to Bianca and Rhea Ripley and start it right here in War Games. So even though I feel like the heels have a chance, I think I got to go the baby faces. Because, by the way, we're doing predictions, but I didn't really think about who I'm going to predict. I'm just thinking now. I don't see how a team as strong as Rhea, Bianca, Naomi, and Io and Bayley can lose unless there's dissension. So I'm going to pick the baby faces to win. But if they start not getting along, then I will. I can't switch my pick because it'll be too late. But I could see that being the case. I'm thinking back to Dakota Kai's turn, one of my favorites. And so they got them little holding cages up there, right? So if Bayley did something similar. Oh, yeah. That's what I would do. I would have Bayley and Bianca be the final 2 in the cage. Everybody else is in there, and they're the final 2 on their team. And then it's Bayley's turn, just like Dakota and Tegan. I would rehash that whole thing. And then the cage opens up. Bayley starts coming to the ring. She turns and boom, and attacks Bianca. And the whole part of her interfering in the Nia Jax match was just to screw over Bianca Belair. And she attacks Bianca and then walks away. So now Bianca is injured and Bayley leaves. So now it's essentially going to be 5-on-3, and then Bianca can try to make her way to the ring if she wants. Maybe ultimately it will fail. I'm going to change my pick. I'm going to change my pick to the heels. I'm probably wrong, but I think if Bayley turns, because a lot of people have talked about Bayley maybe attacking Jade Cargill, that would be great. And if she attacked Bianca as well, that would make sense. And I would definitely do it very similar to Dakota and Tegan. And I would have Bayley nail Bianca in the cage and beat her up and not even enter the fucking match. And then go on to win the United States Championship. Is she on the opposite side of Chelsea? I don't think she is. It would be cool if it was like her and Chelsea in the finals and then Chelsea turns face, after the loss or something. Because I feel like she's pretty close to being a face as it is at this point. Yeah, I'm going to pick the heels. Weaker team, much weaker team, especially with Candice in there. And Raquel for that matter. The babyface team is stacked. It's well decorated, but maybe Bayley turns. I'm going heels. The heel team to win the women's War Games match. Here's another one that I don't know. LA Knight versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the United States Championship. Nakamura just came back. I'm kind of liking the new look. But he just came back. I think it depends on what happens tomorrow. Because so far, Nakamura has attacked LA Knight twice, right? So tomorrow night on SmackDown, there's supposed to be some Friday night on SmackDown. There's supposed to be some Punk Roman Reigns thing going on too. If LA Knight has a segment where him and Nakamura brawl and LA Knight kicks his ass, then maybe Nakamura wins the championship. I'm going to go LA Knight to retain. I don't think we're going to get any title changes here on the show. I think it's going to be all about the story in the War Games match. So I'm going to go LA Knight over Shinsuke Nakamura, although I don't know what Nakamura is going to do if he doesn't win the championship here, which is why I think he could win it and then maybe drop it back to LA Knight, maybe on that January Saturday night's main event. Okay, let's change our pick. LA Knight to lose the United States title. I've changed my pick twice now. I'm going to be so wrong about this. I'm going to pick Nakamura to beat LA Knight for the championship. But Friday night on SmackDown, if Nakamura attacks LA Knight again and puts him down for like the third week in a row, then forget what I said. Then Knight's going to retain. But where we sit right now, prior to SmackDown, I might change my pick via social media prior on Saturday. I'm like, forget everything I said on the predictions. I'm picking LA Knight to retain. But right now, I'm going to pick Nakamura to win the United States Championship. Because ain't no way in hell Braun Breaker's losing the IC. He's going to beat Ludwig Kaiser and Sheamus and retain the IC. We'll just move on from that. Damian Priest challenging Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. Again, not a difficult one to figure out, but one thing I think they could do here is do a non-finish. Because we did hear that this match is also rumored for Saturday night's main event. And that means it's going to be a return match. And the only reason you really do a return match is if you don't get some sort of a definitive winner here. So maybe there's some sort of a superplex through a table or something and both guys can't answer the count and they book it for Saturday night's main event. But how long is Saturday night's main event going to be? I feel like I would not do this match on Saturday night's main event. I'm hoping that rumor is untrue because we're going to be crowning the U.S. champion for the women, Cody and Owens, big match, probably some other stuff too. And it's not going to be a super long show. It's on NBC, so it's not going to be 3 hours. So you can't book everything on there. So I'm hoping that rumor is false and we just get Gunther defeating Damian Priest. But they might want to stretch it one more. Maybe Priest gets a win. Maybe Gunther survives, but Priest wins via DQ. Or maybe Priest gets DQ'd or something like that and Gunther survives. Or maybe Gunther can sense that he's about to lose the title and he intentionally gets himself DQ'd. And then they booked a rematch for Saturday night's main event where Gunther finally beats Priest and then Owens can win the title from Cody. Yeah. Either way, Gunther's walking out of Saturday with the championship, so I guess I'll predict that he beats Damian Priest. And that leaves us with 10 minutes to go here before Dynamite goes on the air. That leaves us with the men's War Games match. The OG Bloodline, Roman Reigns, Sami Zayn, Jay and Jimmy Uso teaming up with CM Punk to take on the new Bloodline, Solo Sikoa, Tongaloa, Tama Tonga, Jacob Fatu, along with Bronson Reed. Man, oh man, oh man. I am going to pick the baby faces here because I picked the heels and the women. So I'm going to pick, that's what I think is going to happen here. So if I'm wrong with one, I'm going to be wrong on both because I think heel has to win one, babyface has to win another. I guess it doesn't have to be that way. That's just the way I feel like it would be. So I'll go heels in the women, and I got to go baby faces for the men. But there's a lot of talk about Paul Heyman turning in this match. A lot of fans were lecturing other fans after Friday's SmackDown. You guys have to pay attention to the little details. You know, Paul Heyman is subtly hinting that he's going to turn because he's wearing the same thing as Solo Sikoa. Like, that wasn't subtle. Not just you noticed that. Everybody noticed that. It was right in front of our face. It was not subtle. It wasn't just smart wrestling fans that noticed that. 5-year-olds noticed that. So I didn't really think that was that big of a deal. I think I was laughing on social media how many fans were smugly lecturing other fans how to pay attention to these things. I'm like, we all saw that. It's not like nobody didn't notice that. It was mentioned across social media. The moment Paul Heyman came out on TV, he's wearing Solo's thing. It was just everywhere. You couldn't miss it. It was unmissable. So the fact that people were like, you got to pay attention to the little details. I'm like, that was an obvious detail. That was not little or subtle at all. So I thought that was funny. But I also think that maybe that's what WWE wants the fans to think. That's why I think that was so in your face. You know, Paul Heyman, he was tanned, wearing the thing, even the way he was looking at Punk and Roman. A lot of fans think that, you know, he's using Punk to get back at Roman and there's going to be some turn here. And if that happens, that will be great. That will be great if Punk goes heel with Paul Heyman or something after this. I don't know. We might very well see that. But either way, we're getting the CM Punk and Roman Reigns dynamic that we've been waiting to see. And there's going to be some face-to-face in the ring on Friday, apparently, between these two. And I'm hoping for some big angle to go down here. And it would be fun to see The Rock come out in this. Because whatever happens, even though I'm picking the baby faces to win here, what's going to happen after the match? Think of last year, you know, CM Punk came back. So maybe we get Randy Orton coming out or The Rock coming out. We get some sort of big angle in this match. And I hope we do. I hope that we get a turn. I feel like I'm wrong. I feel like it's going to be Solo. Because the only way for some big surprise to happen is if the heels win. You know what I mean? That's the only way a surprise would make sense. Like Paul Heyman turning or The Rock showing up to help the Tongans and Solo and join that bloodline, leaving Roman even more by himself. That could be what happens. I don't know. I feel like this is going to be one of my most poorly predicted pay-per-views because I think I could get 3 out of these 5 matches wrong. Because I picked Nakamura to win the U.S. title. So I'm going to stick with the baby faces. Roman Reigns, Sami Zayn, Usos, and Punk winning. And all of them in the ring after the match is where I think the big angle could come from. Maybe Rock comes out after that. Maybe the faces get the win, but then the angle still happens after the match where Rock shows up and joins Bloodline 2.0 and is instructing them to beat up Roman and crew. And maybe Heyman turns, but I don't know. Do we want Heyman with Bloodline 2.0? He's so over. When he said, ladies and gentlemen, that crowd popped their balls off. So he's pretty over, and he just came back to turn him heel. It would be surprising, I suppose, but a lot of fans would have seen it coming. I don't know. I'm picking the baby faces to win, Roman, Sami, the Usos, and Punk to defeat Bloodline 2.0 in the men's War Games main event. And hopefully at the end of that match or the conclusion or during, we get some sort of major angle happen with another debuting Bloodline member, or The Rock, or a Paul Heyman heel turn, or Punk attacking Roman Reigns. They are going to be in them little cages together, right? So, yeah. Baby faces to win at War Games. There you go. Just to recap, I've got Liv, Nia, Raquel, Tiffany, and Candice beating the baby faces in the women's War Games match. I've got Shinsuke Nakamura winning the United States title. Not confident about that one. I've got Braun Breaker retaining the Intercontinental title. I've got Gunther retaining the World Heavyweight title, defeating Damian Priest. And Roman, Sammy, the Usos, and Punk defeating the Tongans, Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, and Bronson Reed in the men's War Games match. There you go. 5 minutes to spare before Dynamite goes on the air. Let's answer some super chats. If I can find them. There's a couple. Just want to make sure I don't miss any. Oh, there's a few more than I thought. Spartan Sprinkles. Good to see you, man. 90s guy. Anybody else that's here that I've not said hello to? Max Pokebra, Percy G, VHS Nostalgia. Good to see you too. Ramen Noodles. King Azza. I'm looking for super chats. I found them, lost them, found them again. The new ones in the house. Oh, Off Leather Wings. There you go. There's a $5 from you. Appreciate that $5. Hey, Greg, didn't expect to catch you on a Wednesday night. Did you see the Costco guy broke his foot before the match? Will you upload this to Spotify? Yes, I will. I did talk about the Costco guy and all that stuff earlier on, so I am not working tonight, so as soon as this is over, I will push it out to the podcast feed. Give it 20 minutes. Should appear, and it will be up there, or you can just rewind this on demand and watch me talk about the Costco guy stuff. But yeah, I talked about all of that. Juliet, great to see you. Yeah, Daniel Garcia has the title back to its previous look. I think he had that on the scrum. Doug Unfunny, not sure if I said hello to you. Ash, what's up? The new one. Thanks for the $5, my friend. Do you think they will pull an HBK, Triple H, and have Bianca be the one who attacked Jade? No. I thought that at first, but Bianca eliminated herself from the U.S. title tournament to go check on Jade. So she would have to be willing to sacrifice that to keep up the charade, you know? Plus, she rode with her to the hospital. If she wasn't around, or if she wasn't in the tournament or something like that, I would say yes, but I think WWE purposely tried their best to make us understand that it's not Bianca by doing that. The fact that she ran out of the ring, she looked a little conflicted about it, like, should I go? Or, okay, and I ran and I just, forfeited the match. If they wouldn't have done all that, I think Bianca turning heel would be awesome. I just don't think she's the one that did it this time, based on the tournament. Ryan Adams, very generous $20 drop. Thank you, my friend. I feel it was Naomi who took out Jade. I do too. Jade and Naomi were on the same side of the U.S. bracket, which took out not only Jade, but Bianca. Also, they said they would have her in the... Also, they said they would have her in... Wait. Also, they said they would have her back in her title match, but they didn't, but Bayley did. Gotcha. Yeah, I think Naomi might have had the most to gain there. Bayley, I would like it to be her, but also Bayley just turned face. So are you going to go back to her being a heel that quick? That's my only issue with it being Bayley. I think smart money is on Naomi, and I kind of agree with you on that, Ryan. Thank you so much for that one. Yes, good point, the Juliet. We can't rule out Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins, I think, is going to make an appearance in this match to try to get him some of Bronson Reed. So if Seth comes out to maybe eliminate him, maybe we get Seth, maybe with The Rock, we might get Cody. What if they did something like Cody comes out to try to help or something and gets kayfabe injures his ankle. And he's just kind of hobbling. But he's cleared, and he's going to go into Saturday night's main event now against Kevin Owens with a bad leg. Something to think about. And then Kevin Owens can take advantage of Cody making a foolish decision to keep associating himself with Roman Reigns and the Bloodline. Cost him. Now he's got an injury that Owens is going to capitalize on and take advantage of for the heist of the century on NBC. Right on. Well, it is 4:59 local time here, which means Dynamite starts in 1 minute. So I'm going to let you guys get out of here in case you want to watch the show, because I do. I'm going to go ahead and get this podcast pulled out or pushed out to the podcast feed for those who like to listen in MP3 form. And thank you so much for joining us on this Wednesday. Not really a Winged Eagle day, but it felt like it. I went through all my normal Winged Eagle procedures every week, writing down notes and getting ready and doing all that. We even went live at the same time. And now it is time for Dynamite. I hope you guys enjoy the show. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. Enjoy your Thanksgiving tomorrow. I hope you guys have a great one. Those of you who celebrate it and live here in the States, have a great day off. Enjoy your food, enjoy your family, enjoy your football. Hope it's a great day for all of you. And I will be seeing you again on Saturday when we're here for our watch party, Survivor Series War Games. Make sure you join us. The link is already up on the channel. As you guys know, we will be here on Saturday doing the fun Survivor Series live reaction. I'm looking forward to that. All right, y'all. Appreciate it. Thanks so much. Have a good couple days. Talk to you on Saturday.